opportunity. We are pleased to have with us, because we're always talking about jobs and work and opportunities, Mr. Michael Brock and also his partner, Mr. Carl McNeil. And they have a program called VECCY Hiring Initiative. And we're delighted to have both these gentlemen with us. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Welcome. And let me just begin with you, Michael. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what this initiative is all about.
Well, first of all, Congressman, I thank you for giving us the opportunity to be here with you today. The initiative, the VECCY Hiring Initiative, let me start from the beginning. I come from 3 generations of U.S. veterans. My father was a U.S. veteran that served in the 1960s in the Army. When my father exited the Army, he began to drive a truck for a living. When he came to the point that he wanted to begin his own truck driving company, he was unable to find either a mentor or the financing to get that business started. Now, I make no excuses for the decisions that my father made after that, but following that situation in his life spiraled out of control into drug sales and drug addiction. So the VECCY Hiring Initiative, fast forward, VECCY stands for Veterans, Economically Challenged Citizens, and Youth. And what we do is we recruit, enroll in truck driver training programs, and then find employment for individuals once they complete our program. The long-term goal for the program is to ensure that individuals have a fair opportunity to either A, get involved in the truck driving industry, and if they so choose, have the ability to go on and become independent trucking contractors themselves. I look back to that situation with my father and I say to myself, or I ask myself, had a mentor or an individual to give him direction and show him the way, step in at the right time, how would that have affected his life? How would it have affected the life of my family afterwards? And the many other people that would have been impacted had he been able to create those jobs at that time in the early 1970s. So I've taken it upon myself with this organization to ensure that others have that opportunity to get in to an industry that right now has approximately 200,000 availabilities nationwide. Primarily African Americans and Latinos only occupy 14% of that overall population. So right now is a golden opportunity for African Americans and Latinos to get into the industry, to not only learn the industry, but learn the business behind the industry as well. And that's the long-term focus of what we're trying to accomplish, or what we're seeking to accomplish.
Well, let me ask you, you say that there are jobs available and that individuals have the opportunity to learn. Actually, my brother was a truck driver. My older brother, he had 2 trucks. The interesting thing about him is that he didn't get much formal education, and but he started driving a log truck when he was a teenager.
Absolutely.
And the log truck just kind of is what he did. He kept doing it. Eventually, he actually owned 2 18-wheelers when he died. And he was teaching his grandson the business, and his grandson is following in his footsteps. And I was amazed at how Benny learned how to take those trucks apart. He could fix anything on them.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And oftentimes when I would go to visit, he lived in a little town in Arkansas, Wilmot, Arkansas, as a matter of fact. I would go and get in the truck, and he'd tell me I could drive. And, I'd go just right down the road a little bit and turn around and come back. But it felt good being in charge of that great big vehicle.
Absolutely.
And so you train people?
What we do, we have a consortium of truck driving schools as well as trucking companies that are looking for new drivers. So what we do is once we make the recruiting effort, once that takes place, we get them enrolled in a truck driving school that's most convenient for them geographically to attend. Once they finish that program, I would say midway through that program, we start to identify trucking companies that might hire them. Now, it's not just confined to veterans and economically challenged citizens. We had the opportunity or the good fortune to do an outreach session earlier during the fall at Victory Apostolic Church in Matson.
All right.
And by going there, we were expecting 10, 15 people to show up. When we went there, we had over 100 people to show up and 90 plus people to sign up for the program. And within that 90 plus people, we had some ex-offenders that were interested in the program. Now, we hadn't identified ex-offenders as a demographic, but after that, after we saw the interest there, we couldn't turn them away. So there are trucking companies out there, and this is a misconception, there are trucking companies out there that will in fact hire ex-offenders. It just depends on how long and what the circumstances were dealing with their incarceration. It may take a little bit longer, but we can do that as well. So we've added that, to our repertoire or the demographics.
Let me ask either you or Carl. Carl may want to jump in terms of the cost. Let me ask. How much does it cost to go through the program, and where does the money come from? Who wants to?
I can answer that. I'll go ahead and answer that real quick. The cost of the program, it ranges right now between $2,000 and $5,000, depending upon the school that you go to. Some schools have better reputations than others. Some have access to other trucking companies that are hiring. So it just kind of varies. There are trucking schools that have been around in the Chicagoland area since the early 70s, and they have great reputations not only in the Chicagoland community, but in the trucking community as well. So it varies. The ones that we have been dealing with thus far are WEA certified trucking companies, which means they've been certified by the state and the federal government for programs that have access to WEA grants. As far as the funding is concerned, thus far we have not obtained our own in-house funding. We've been dealing with the GI Bill for veterans and WEA grants for economically challenged citizens. Right now, we're aggressively pursuing funding in-house.
Let me make sure that we understand what that means, and I want to make sure that my viewers understand. If you are a veteran,
yes,
are you saying that you can have the fee paid for by the Veterans Administration training program?
Through the GI Bill, yes.
Through the GI Bill.
Exactly. There are other programs because you do have, the GI Bill primarily deals with post 9/11 veterans, but there are pre 9/11 veteran programs that we can also access funding for. Now, it's a little bit harder to come by. It takes a little bit more effort, but it is possible.
But a veteran can find out what they qualify for, where they fit in, and whether or not there are monies available to pay for them to get the training that they need in order to become a truck driver.
Oh, absolutely. The Veterans Administration, the Illinois Veterans Administration, they do a phenomenal job, as well as the Cook County Veterans Association.
Now let me ask you then about the WEA part.
Yes.
I'm not a veteran.
Yes.
I'm 28 years old. I want to get in the program. I don't have any money. Does WEA provide an opportunity for me to go to the program and they pay for it?
What WEA does is that they take you through their program to ensure that you're going to be qualified to get into that program. Now, it's a process, don't get me wrong, but there are funds available for individuals, like you just mentioned, to obtain funding to be enrolled in the truck driver training program. Once you get into that program, we take it from there in terms of matching you with employment. And that's one of the stipulations with WEA. They want to make sure that they're funding individuals who have jobs set up for them once they complete that program. And that's where our guarantee comes in, because we very aggressively pursue employment for those individuals once they leave those training programs.